Hello and welcome. This is Soundiron Shimmer. This is from the company Soundiron that have done a lot of really great libraries over the years. This is something that I haven't seen before, but I saw it the other day and it caught my eye for reasons that are fairly obvious from what you can see on the screen. But I had a little listen to the demos they've done and I thought, actually, that's quite interesting. I could do with that. I do a lot of music for pantomime and stage shows, and actually some of the stuff that this has to offer will fit in quite nicely with what I'm looking for. So I'm going to run through the functionality and sounds, or some of the basic sounds that Shimmer has to offer, and give you all the options, and then you can decide for yourself whether Shimmer is something for you. So the GUI to start with is really quite grotesque. It's got very happy feelings on it, with a rainbow and a sun and this strange little creature with a horn and an ice cream with a crown on and some fluttery birds. Okay, so you can see the attitude they are going to here. This is not a death metal guitar library, quite clearly. This is a library of effects and ambiences and one-hit little noises, which they call drum kits, but really are just one-hit noises for use in soundtrack generation, maybe games, and certainly in my case, the odd pantomime for doing sound effects and also for putting little additions to music. It's divided into 3 Kontakt instruments, and it's needed the full version of Kontakt to load them. It will not load in the player. The 3 instruments are called Shimmer 01, all effects, Shimmer 02, all ambiences, and Shimmer 3 drum kits. So there are 3 different instruments, and you get all 3 when you buy this. So what is it all about? What's it for? Well, it's an interesting library, as I said, with kind of sound effects, ambiences, and drum kits. It gives you a fair lot of control. You've got control over your attack, release, this thing called edge, which is kind of like a bit of EQ, a filter for high pass, a warp control, which is for pitch control and various modulation effects, and a swell, which is essentially your dynamic, your volume control. There is a built-in arpeggiator, there is a built-in pattern player, and there is all sorts of ways of quantizing your sounds. And there is a drop-down menu with a whole list of all the different sounds. The drop-down menu you can use to select your different sounds, or you can use the bottom octave if you've got an 88-note keyboard. The bottom octave, as you can see, if I just solo this instrument, the bottom octave, as you can see here, is switching between the different sound sets on the screen. You can see that going along. You do need an 88-note keyboard in order to fully use the key switching of this, because it is all the way down the bottom of your keyboard here. This is the bottom C on my 88-note keyboard. And that gives you from middle C up to 2 octaves above middle C, where the sounds tend to be hidden around. Okay, so beware. If you get this, you need to either move the key switches or assign a separate controller for key switches. Otherwise you will end up with a problem changing your sounds. Of course, you could change it here on the interface. So let's just go through a couple of these little sounds and just see what they are, see what they're for. So the sound sets it gives you for the all effects section: charm 1, charm 2, charm shorts, mystic charms, interface 1, 2. Can't even read what that word is. Let's go back and read that off the menu there. Okay, we've got risers 1 and 2, we've got bass, cymbals, FX hicks, snares, and toms. So don't look at these as if that's what they are, because the snares don't sound much like snares, but they do have that percussive property. So what do charms sound like? Well, they're really quite charming little noises. And charms long 2, as you can suspect, is more of the same. And again, really nice little sounds, obviously put together over a long period of time using lots of different effectors. They are velocity sensitive, so the harder you hit the key, the louder they play, which isn't a major thing, but it's nice to have. And essentially, as you go up through the different sound sets, so you can hear there's lots of nice little sounds there. So that's the basic interface. It's very easy. You select the sound, you find the one you want, and you add it to your sequence. So you've got these controls as well. I'm just going to go back to the Mystic Charms here and just find there we are. Find that one. That's a nice one to use for this. You can assign these controls, the attack, release, edge, filter, warp, and swell, to MIDI CC controllers, and I've assigned them to the sliders on my keyboard so I can control the attack. I can control the release. So get some really nice effects there. You've got control over this thing called edge. This is changing the start of the sample in this case. The filter. Which is great. And this warp control, which is a pitch control. So in this case, it's pitching down an octave. And you can go down one tone or up one tone, which is great. And if you click on this little button here, it changes it the other way around. So it pitches up to the key that you hit, which is quite a handy little hint there. You've also got the swell control, which is simply dynamics. So that in itself is really handy. You can really do some lovely sound design by combining the attack, the edge, the filter, the warp, etc. And by combining many keys, you can actually use this to generate sound effects. You could use it to add certain sounds and effects to tracks that you're creating. If you're looking more for a percussive element, this has also got a really nice little built-in arpeggiator and a little sequencer. This little pink box up here controls the sequencer as well. The arpeggiator is controlled using this little button that says off. If you click on that, you've got a choice between up, down, down, up. This easy roll, random, and as played. So if I'm going to put it onto up, down for the moment, and the icon changes. If you put it to easy roll, you can see it goes around in circles. So put it on up, down. If I hit for percussion instruments, this is the bass section. Let's choose snares actually, because they're a nicer selection, and hit 4 notes. It's simply going up and down at whatever speed I connect in here. So 8ths, 16ths, 16th triplets, etc. So that's the simple arpeggiator. So you can really just create little quick sequences like that, which is kind of handy. This little button here, if you click on this, then activates this control. So we're now selecting the velocity of the notes that are being hit. So I want the first one, for instance, to be hit hard, and the third one to be hit hard. So I'll do that again now with 4 notes being played on the keyboard. And you can see here that I can control this sequence really very well. Excuse me, I just moved that instrument. There we go, back again. And you can really play with your sequence. You can also change it from being 8 to 7 to 6 to 5, etc. And really play with those offbeats, which I think is going to be fascinating fun. So that's a really nice feature there. You've then got this normal hold and other options. So if you press on hold, for instance, and press play, you can use that to hold, and you just press a key and it will carry on sequencing for you. So the all effects and all the others, the ambiences and the drum kits, all contain the same control: attack, release, edge, filter, warp, and swell. They have slightly different effects in different instruments. Warp, for instance, tends to add more modulation in the ambiences, whereas in the effects and the drum kits, it seems to add a little bit more pitch, bend, and shift. However, the control is basically the same, and the arpeggiator works in the same way, and the key switching works in the same way. So that was the all effects. I think they're absolutely brilliant. So let's move on to the ambiences. You can never, in my opinion, get enough ambiences. The ambiences are essentially multi-sampled, complex ambience effects. You've got it down here. You can see they're listed from 1 through to 35. They're called glambients, just really to fit in with the overall look and feel of this library. So you can see here all the key switches down the bottom in red, and all of the notes that can be played up in blue, and you'll see that as you select different ambience patches, the range stays the same. Essentially, these are single samples, but they are stretched over the entire range of the keyboard. So it's up to you if you choose somewhere in the middle or choose somewhere at the top or the bottom, and you will get a kind of a chipmunky effect or a big deep pitched effect. But anyway, they're really nice sounds. I'm just going to play a few of them. And what's really nice about these is the filter and the jitter also control these. So if I sweep down the filter, and the jitter controls some of the weird pitchness. There's a nice modulation. So you don't need me to tell you how lovely they are. They are beautiful ambiences. They are all pitch, and you can obviously play along. You can choose your beautiful, mystical, soft, echoey piano, for instance, and just play some little tootles over the top, and immediately you're going to have this wonderful, rich, smooth ambience. This interface also has the arpeggiator and the step sequencer, etc. I can't see a reason why you'd ever want to use them on long sustained ambiences like that. You could, of course, put the attack down to 0 and the release down to 0. And use these as risers as well, and combined with the filter. Excuse the distortion there. That filter is really quite tight. But you can see that's going to be quite useful. If you cut the release stack to 0, you lose all those sustained properties, and it just kind of cuts out, which is fantastic. But still, you wouldn't want to use the arpeggiator with the ambiences. So let's move on finally to the drums. They're called drum kits, and there are a number of patches here. All kits, Shimmer Kit 1 through to Shimmer Kit 9. Obviously, all kits occupies the entire keyboard with all of the samples. And I'm just going to do a quick chromatic from the bottom C up to the top to give you an idea of the kind of sounds you're looking at for the drum kits. So you can hear they've all got a very similar theme to them. They're kind of squelchy, ploppy, jingly, jangly, belly, weird sounds. Okay, on their own, they're not going to make a drum kit out of this. You can't, you're not going to be doing rock and roll. But anyway, you can do some really nice sound design. And this is again where the sequencer comes into its own. So if you turn the sequencer on, for instance, let's do a random just for fun. And let's turn on this as well and put this on a 7. And we'll just choose all the drums. I'm going to play 4 random notes. See, I love that. I find that's absolutely fascinating. So if you're doing some kind of weird tune that requires some strange rhythmic elements, this can really provide some really fun little sounds. And of course, you could just put it onto the 16th triplets, set up a filter, and then and do all sorts of rhythmical wonderfulness. So I think it's a brilliant library. It's not expensive. It does look grotesque. I find the screen really quite to look at. But anyway, it does sound brilliant. I mean, it's got some really nice sounds in there for sound design, for sound effect development, and generally adding a little bit of shimmer to your productions. So if you're looking for that kind of shimmer element, it's all in one place here. It saves you having to do much work in terms of your own sound design because they've done it all for you. I think it's incredibly useful. There's lots of stuff going on there, so I don't think you'll get bored with the sounds they have to offer. So there we are, Soundiron's Shimmer.